NHL Q&A is back again, where I'll be answering your NHL-related questions. It's time for episode 4. Let's get started. Hey everybody, it is time for episode 4 of NHL Q&A, where I'll be answering 5 of your NHL-related questions that you asked me via the community tab post. And you guys had some awesome questions again this month, so I apologize if I didn't get to yours, but I'm only choosing 5 because I want to keep this video a reasonable length, so I can't get to everything. But feel free to ask again next month or ask another question next month when I do this again. Try and mix up whose questions I answers with each episode. But let's get into them here because you guys had some awesome questions again for this month. Starting question number 1, and this was kind of 2 questions right along the same line, so I'm going to answer them together here. Logan asked, do you think one of the Hurricanes and Lightning will make it to the Stanley Cup Finals? So do you think the Lightning or the Hurricanes, one of those 2 teams will make it to the Stanley Cup Finals? And then Joe asked, do you think the Carolina Hurricanes will win the Stanley Cup or the Tampa Bay Lightning? So again, asking about the Hurricanes and the Lightning, but this time, will they win the Stanley Cup? So obviously, these are 2 of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. These are 2 full-blown contenders, very, very good teams this season. There's certainly no guarantee that one of them wins the cup or makes it to the finals, but I do think that there's a very good chance that the Hurricanes or the Lightning, one of those 2 teams, is your representative from the Eastern Conference in the finals. Now, Florida certainly has something to say about that. I don't think Florida is going to go down lightly in these playoffs. We could also, it's the NHL, we could see a surprise team maybe come out and go on a run. I think Pittsburgh's a team that has a chance. It's not going to be easy in the playoffs, particularly in the East especially. But there's no doubt about it that these 2 teams are 2 of the top contenders for the Stanley Cup this season. I think if you were to put together a top 5 contenders list, Carolina and Tampa Bay are absolutely top 5 contenders for the Cup this year, and they are going to make it very, very difficult on their opponents in the playoffs, and they certainly have a shot to make it to the finals and potentially win the Cup. Question number 2 comes from Nick, who asks, who should the Bruins get at the trade deadline, and should they trade Jake DeBrusk? Okay, so 2-part question here. First, on Jake DeBrusk, he's been playing a little bit better, but his trade request, his agent has come out and said he still wants out. His trade request is still valid, still in place. Boston is not going to force a trade with Jake DeBrusk. They're not going to get rid of him just to get rid of him. But if something comes along where, they get a decent return, they're certainly going to jump on that opportunity. I think they should try and trade him at the deadline. Think, depending on what's out there, at some point here, you just got to take what you can get and make a move. But you're not going to, just give him up for a 5th round pick or something like that. You're not just going to give him away. That wouldn't make any sense because they can try again in the offseason where he's scheduled to be an RFA. Probably not going to re-sign with the Bruins even as a restricted free agent, so they could maybe try and move him in the offseason. But I think if something's out there where you can get a somewhat decent return for DeBrusk, then you make that move as quickly as you can if you're the Bruins. As far as who should they get at the deadline, I'm still looking to the defense, the D core. I think if there's one area that the Bruins could really benefit from, it would just be a little bit more defensive depth and added defenseman. I think a home run type move would certainly be getting a top 4 defenseman because I think that would really solidify the Bruins back end. But at the very least, at least get a depth guy like a Jacob Middleton or somebody like that. Get a depth piece and at least have a little bit more on the back end there. And I think that'd be the biggest area of improvement that the Bruins could get at the deadline this year. Question number 3 comes from Underwater. Underwater wants to know, did Vegas miss their championship window and need to start thinking about their first rebuild? So Vegas is in a very complicated spot right now. Obviously, they're having a terrible season this year. I guess not terrible, but a very underwhelming season this year compared to their usual standards. They haven't been very good this season. Now, injuries have played a huge role in that, and you got to wonder if Vegas was able to stay healthy, how much better their record would be and how much better their place in the standings would be if they were actually able to stay healthy. So, it's a complicated question. I don't think we're thinking rebuild here with Vegas. I don't think we're going to see them be going anytime soon into a full-blown rebuild. They've got way too many high-end players for that. Even though a lot of them are veteran guys who are a little bit older, they still have some really talented players in their lineup. So I don't think we're going to be talking about a full-blown rebuild. I do think that we will see some changes, though, in the offseason. Their salary cap situation right now is not good. They need to move some salary, whether that's Riley Smith, whether that's Max Pacioretty. Somebody's got to go. Like, they've got to open up some money at this point. And goaltending, I think, is a bit of a question. Robin Lehner is not a full-blown franchise goalie. Whenever Robin Lehner has been really good in goal, he's always had that guy tandem piece alongside of him. You know, in Vegas, it was Marc-Andre Fleury up until this year. It was Fleury, and they made a great tandem, but Lehner didn't have to do it all on his own. When he was with the New York Islanders, Lehner had Thomas Greiss, and again, it was a tandem. He didn't have to do it all on his own. This year, Vegas traded away Fleury. They basically left Lehner all on his own, and he hasn't really performed that well. So they need to upgrade their goaltending. They need to get Lehner a running mate who can, you know, really take that second half of the tandem and play really, really well. Laurent Brossoit is not it. Laurent Brossoit is a backup and a pure backup, and that's it. So I think they need to do something about their goaltending. They're going to have to move some pieces, but I don't think they're going into a full-blown rebuild yet. But they do need to move some pieces. And has their championship window closed? I think until they make some of those moves, yes, because they certainly don't look like a Stanley Cup team this year, and there's going to be some changes made with Vegas in this offseason. So I don't see them as a championship team, but I don't see them as a full-blown rebuilder either. I think they're going to have to make a few sly salary cap moves here and there, but they still have enough talent on that roster to at least be a playoff team. You know, with William Karlsson, you know, with Alex Pietrangelo on the back end, with Jack Eichel there now, with Mark Stone, like there's too much talent for them to full-blown rebuild, but they're going to have to make some moves for sure. Question number 4 comes from Mapman. Mapman wants to know, who do you think will have the first wild card in the West? Currently, it seems like it could be Minnesota or Nashville. And yeah, completely agree with you on Minnesota or Nashville. I do think it's going to come from the Central Division. I still honestly think we're probably going to see 5 teams from the Central get into the playoffs and only 3 from the Pacific, with both wild card spots going to Central teams. But for that first wild card spot, right now it does seem like it's either going to be Minnesota or Nashville. Whoever finishes 4th in the Central Division, they're battling it out for 3rd place right now. They're very close in points. It's Colorado obviously is going to win the Central. St. Louis seems like they're going to probably finish in 2nd. So then it's Minnesota and Nashville fighting for 3rd and 4th. Whoever finishes 3rd will obviously get that 3rd spot, and then whoever finishes 4th will get that first wild card spot in the West. So it does, to me, seem like it's going to be down to those 2 teams. And finally, last question comes from Yoshi Bros, who asks, who should the Leafs be trading for that can help with their goaltending issues? So obviously, Toronto here over the last month or so has had some major goaltending issues pop up. Jack Campbell not playing well. Now he's injured on IR. Peter Mrazek not playing well. All of a sudden, goaltending's a huge problem for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So when we look at the goaltending in the trade deadline this year, obviously the top target, the number one guy that anybody would want is Marc-Andre Fleury. Now the question with that is we don't even know if Marc-Andre Fleury is going to be traded at all, let alone to Toronto. Reports seem to be very 50-50 on Fleury actually getting traded at this point. There's a lot of people saying that he doesn't really want to go anywhere. That he's just going to stay in Chicago for the rest of the year and ride it out. And there's others saying that if the right situation came along, you know, he would be willing to consider a move, which I think is probably most likely that it would have to be the right situation. But no matter which way it goes, Marc-Andre Fleury's in complete control of what he does at the deadline. Chicago has come out and said that, you know, they're going to honor whatever he wants. So he gets to not only choose if he gets traded or not traded, he also gets to choose where he goes, basically. Like, if an offer comes in from a team that he doesn't want to go to or play for, he's just going to say no, and it's not going to happen, and he's just going to stay in Chicago. So there's really nothing forcing a Fleury trade. It's completely up to him where he wants to go and if he gets traded or not. So does he want to go to the Leafs? That's something that Marc-Andre Fleury only knows. And then would the Leafs be able to pull off that move? We'd have to wait and see. But that should be their top target if you're looking to improve your goaltending. Because after Marc-Andre Fleury, there's a pretty steep drop-off as far as quality of goaltenders that you could be getting. I guess Semyon Varlamov from the Islanders would be the other option that's a legitimate starter. Somebody that can come in and start in the playoffs and be your number one goalie. That would be Varlamov from the Islanders. Now, Varlamov has a no-trade clause where he can choose 16 teams to not be traded to. So, again, he would pretty much have to want to go to Toronto for him to get moved, but maybe he does. Maybe he wants to try and go on a run with the Leafs. I mean, we'd have to wait and see until the deadline for that, but Fleury and Varlamov are the two guys that are legitimate starter-level goalies that I think the Leafs could potentially be in on. After that, I mean, you're looking at guys like Alexander Georgiev, Joonas Korpisalo, more backup types like that. That, again, would they even be that big of an upgrade for the Leafs? It seems like the Leafs already kind of have that in Peter Mrazek. I don't think Joonas Korpisalo or Alexander Georgiev are upgrades over Peter Mrazek. So Leafs aren't in a great spot here, and there's not a lot of goaltending available out there. But I think if you're looking for a significant upgrade in net, your best bet is either trying to lure Fleury out of Chicago or trying to get Semyon Varlamov out of New York with the Islanders. Those are your two best options. After that, it's pretty much just backups available, and that's not going to overall help you all that much. But anyway, there we have it. 5 questions, NHL Q&A. Thank you guys all so much, everybody who dropped a question on the community tab for this month's episode. Really, really appreciate it. I could not do these videos without you. Again, if you didn't get your question answered, my apologies, but I can only do 5 because I want to keep the video a reasonable length. And can't get to everything because there's a lot of questions every time I do this. So just keep asking, keep trying again, and maybe you'll be on in a future episode. I try and switch it up with whose questions I answer each episode. So you'll have a good chance of getting on in the future for sure. So again, really, really appreciate all the questions, guys. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our merchandise store, membership, and donations are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys soon.